Welcome to Menopause Madness. Today's episode will be more focused on the mind body connection, um, and how feminine and masculine energy play a part in our health, um, and how that connects to the mind body connection, and whatever else flows as I'm in my feminine energy. And I don't mean that kind of flow. That flow is gone. So let's jump in. I I'll start by saying that this is my first time using this app to record a video, and I'm feeling a little bit of stress in my body right now because normally I have the capability to edit, and I'm not sure if that's true with this particular recording. So this might be very raw with my pauses in between. And now that I've recognized the feeling and recognize that it's not me, it's just a thought that I'm having, I can let it go. And this relates to the mind body connection. So that was a perfect segue. Here I am being vulnerable and also introducing the conversation. So when we have a thought, it becomes a feeling if we sit with it long enough. Um, and especially if it triggers something in us, right? Like sometimes we have thoughts like analytical thoughts, what's 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, that there's no feelings involved in that. Um but then there's other thoughts like, "Oh man, I might embarrass myself if I continue to create this video with no editing." And then the feeling comes, right? Like I'm supposed to be perfect and this might not be perfect. And then what will people say or think or whatever? Will I lose my credibility? So all of the ego stuff comes in, right? The you're not good enough, and you have to act and behave a certain way, and think and say certain things, and not expose your feelings, and not express yourself freely. How does all of this relate to menopause? So, well, let me back up for a second. I skipped a part that I promised. So the thinking side of us, often referred to as logic or the ego or the masculine energy, um, is one way of looking at it. So you've got the masculine energy, and then on the other side, the feminine energy is your emotions, how you're feeling about certain things, the sensations that you're having, um, and relates more to expression and receiving, intuition, creation, joy. Um, So if knowing that your mind can very much have an influence on your body, like what mine just did a few minutes ago, um, if we don't express those things and we bottle them up, then they cause issues within us. So we really have two choices. Either catch the thought before it becomes a feeling, which takes about less than 17 seconds. um, Or once the feeling is created, the feeling only lasts 30 seconds, assuming that we don't feed it, we don't turn it into a story. So, first choice is just to avoid having the negative thought, right? Second choice then would be once the negative thought occurs, if we allow it to go on long enough to create a feeling, sit with the feeling and let it go. Recognize it's not you. Um, the option that we most frequently choose, and this relates to the masculine energy, and the dominant masculine patriarchal society that we've been raised in, is just don't express that stuff. Keep it in, bottle it up, shove it down, whatever you got to do, but don't express that stuff. Well, what happens in the body then is the body is convinced that this is what the expectation is, like, oh, we're just supposed to swallow this garbage down. And then our body has no choice but to store it somewhere because that's what we've told it to do. And now it's creating havoc in our body because um, whether you want to look at it from a spiritual perspective and say everything is energy, which is true, that's also a scientific perspective. Um, in which case, it's causing a block in the flow. Think of like a garden hose that's been pinched and the water can't get out, or an electrical wire that's been pinched and it creates a lot of heat in that area and potentially starts a fire. Um, and hot flashes come to mind now. Then you've got that aspect of it, or you can look at it from the Western medicine point of view, which is your endocrine system um, is being impeded by these chemical messengers called hormones that are responsible for carrying our feelings. This is, our brain transmits some information and sends it out as a hormone to the entire body in light speed. And now all of a sudden, things are happening. We've got these sensations, these feelings, and potentially disease because there's meant to be a balance there. And if there's not, then, like I mentioned with the garden hose or electrical wire, things go wrong. So our body during menopause can very much speak up to us and say, hey, you've stored all this junk and now I've got, you need to deal with it. Um, when I mentioned earlier about the idea of balance, the balance really comes from a balance between masculine and feminine energy. And, being the masculine side, excuse me, the masculine side of that being, very much in the thought process, the analytical, the got to do stuff, got to get things done type of processes, as well, or in converse with the feminine energy, you're looking more at the feelings, the being, the creativity, the intuition. Um, I think I mentioned this before, but it's worth repeating. So, striking a balance between those, right? Allowing yourself to experience those feelings and potentially acting on them depending on what needs to be acted on. Sometimes the action is just being with it. Just it's not really an action so much as just allowing it and then saying, "Okay, that's not me." So the masculine part comes in and has a thought like, "Oh, that's not me. That's just a feeling and it'll pass. I can handle this." And then let it go. Or, act in another way that's contrary to what the feeling is. So instead of me bailing on the video, oh, this is, I'm going to embarrass myself and make a mistake, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm just going to keep on trucking with that and um, act as if everything is fine because really it is. It's only a story. So this relates to menopause, and the reason why I shared, the hot flash comes to mind is I've noticed a pattern within myself, one that I'm choosing to override with intention, emotion, and thought tied together. So the pattern that I've noticed in myself is that if I am not in the present, I'm more likely to experience a hot flash if I make myself or someone else wrong in some way. And what I mean by that is I have some kind of thought like that shouldn't have happened. I shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have done that. Or, oh man, this, now I'm going to have to talk with this person because I have to fix this situation. In other words, I'm in the analytical side of things instead of just letting things be, allowing people to be guiltless because um, the how do I explain the revelation I had recently? Any identification with any story about ourselves or another person is ego. And what I mean by that is when we recognize that all there is that everything is energy, and that everything is connected, and I'm talking quantum physics here. Um, and where do I want to go with this? Everything is connected, everything is energy. The source that created all of it, whatever word you want to give that, whether that's energy or God or some other name, it really doesn't matter, is responsible for everything. And that includes each and every decision that we make. And as soon as those decisions are made, they're in the past. And now we can let them go. They're no longer affecting us unless we choose to let them. Um, I'll give you a recent example. I watched a video, and the guy was explaining how when you experience some type of physical injury, the injury itself hurts, obviously. Then let's say a couple weeks go by and you try to relive that physical pain. You're not going to be able to do it. And this is a testimony to our population as it is, because a whole lot of women would not have ever had more than one child if this wasn't true. On the other hand, if you experience some kind of emotional trigger, let's say your partner says something that triggers you in a way that you feel your feelings have been hurt. And notice I'm not putting it on the partner, because again, it comes back to our perceptions. So feelings get hurt, and the next day you wake up and you remember that situation between you and your partner, and now you're hurt feelings again, and now you add more to the story, instead of just being, oh, this thing he said made me think he doesn't like me anymore, he's mad at me. And then the next day it's, okay, now we're gonna I'm not gonna get to see him for a long time. And then a couple days later, oh man, he's gonna break up with me. And a couple days later, oh my goodness, I'm always gonna be alone. And you create this whole story about it, right? So this guy was describing this, and he said it's like as if a fire alarm has gone off the first time, when we have the emotion, and then instead of leaving it alone and letting it go, we whip out our lighter and hold it up to the smoke alarm and say, "Please torture me some more." And I laugh, but it's legit. This is what we do, right? The same thing is true when we're making other people wrong. We're separating ourselves, we're judging ourselves, because we're giving ourselves that feeling. So not only in this situation of the partner where, the one got the feelings hurt, but also, let's say you're judging somebody. Does that person feel that judgment? I mean, I could get into some deeper stuff here about how we're all connected, and how our emotions affect others. But let's say your partner is, on the other side of the country and you're mad at them. Who's feeling that? You are. You're giving that feeling to yourself. So when you're going through menopause, this has been my experience. As I have one of these moments where I'm concerned, worried about something, or judging somebody, or judging myself. Oh man, I should have done this and I didn't. Um, then I all of a sudden feel a hot flash coming on. And then what I've learned from having had this happen enough times is that if I resist the hot flash, like, oh no, and make it wrong and fight against it, oh, this is bad, and why did this happen, and go away, and all those kinds of thoughts, it actually makes it worse. So I'm resisting the flow again, right? This emotion came up and I'm saying, "No, go away, leave me alone." And it's showing up as a feeling because that's what it knows how to do. So, um moral of the story is staying in that balance. A friend of mine and I had a conversation earlier today, and he shared with me, we were talking about some deeper thoughts on how to stay present and what the benefits of that are. And he used the analogy of, it's like a dance between the masculine and the feminine, and staying in that center place. It doesn't mean you sit around and do nothing all day and just cry in your soup. It also doesn't mean that you stay in your head all day and say, "We're just going to push through this, get it done, and it doesn't matter how I feel." Um, I really like the dance analogy because I very much am a music lover, and I love watching those video reels on Facebook where they're showing a particular type of swing dance. I don't remember the name of it. And what always enthralls me is these dances more often than not are random partners being picked. And of course they're both, uh, well versed in their craft. They've taken lessons or whatever. So it's not like they're getting out there just stumbling over their feet. But they don't know this person from Adam, right? And the man always takes charge. So you got that masculine energy, like, let's get it done. I'm gonna lead the show here. But the woman is always completely trusting, and expressive at the same time. So she's allowing this person to spin her around and flip her this way and that way, but also she's completely uninhibited. Like, I've seen some great videos, where women were doing all kinds of fun stunts, and the guy was completely following along. Like, there was no tripping up or falling down or any shocked look like, "Oh my god, what are you doing?" Like, they just flowed with it. Just flowed with the expression. So the I'm using a typical scenario of the man being the masculine and the woman being the feminine, but both of us, all of us have both masculine and feminine. And I'm getting off on a little rabbit trail, but my point being, having that purpose, having that perfect balance between the two is essential for a whole host of um, symptoms related to your health, as well as other areas of your life, your financial health, um, your career health. That kind of goes together. Your relationship health, all of it. And I'll just be a little bit more vulnerable right now. Just a minute ago, I got embarrassed because I made a mistake, and I told myself, "Oh man, you messed up," and now I'm having a hot flash. Um, and that's okay. I'm letting it go. I'm letting it go. It's in the past. I'm only sharing it for your benefit. Because what I'm also realizing is you can take control of your mind at any moment and say, "No, we're not doing that anymore. I'm I'm guiltless. I'm guiltless." And as you see others as guiltless, you see yourself that way. You're giving that feeling to yourself is what you're doing. I very much encourage that. I had a moment like that this week that was profound, and it was a blissful moment. That's the best way to describe it. If you're curious where you stand on your feminine energy, I actually have a free downloadable PDF that goes into more detail about the differences, the facets of each, a self evaluation quiz, and some things you can do to help balance your um, energy, as well as an offer at the end if you would like some support with that. Because in my coaching business, this is something I offer uh, to address with all of these areas. And not because I'm perfect, but because I have made progress compared to where I was several years ago. So there's my offer. Perfectly imperfect as I am, willing to help you evolve in the direction of more balance. I hope this has been helpful. I will tag the link into the description of where you can find that PDF. And within that PDF, it'll connect you to being able to talk with me. Feel free to share your thoughts. I look forward to hearing your feedback, and I'm grateful to be on this journey with you. Make it a great day.